收刊，财新周刊每周一出版，全国发行。懒投资，国内专业的互联网理财平台，收益超银行活期数倍，已为众多用户带来丰厚收益。懒投资，理财新选择。68岁的美国规模最大的上市投资管理公司黑石集团的共同创始人、全球主席兼首席执行官史蒂芬·舒尔斯曼有个中文名字叫苏世民。与很多含着金钥匙出生的华尔街精英不同，苏世民只是美国宾州一家干货店老板的儿子。早年凭借天资聪颖，以优异成绩毕业于哈佛商学院，并跻身华尔街。31岁，成为投行大鳄雷曼兄弟最年轻的合伙人，深得大老板彼得森的赏识。1985年，他离开雷曼后，与彼得森各出资20万美元，创立了后来大名鼎鼎的黑石集团。2013年时，他曾以65亿美元的身价，在美国400富豪榜上位列第63位。保养者称他是华尔街的新国王，投资以谨慎著称，即便在金融危机中也表现不俗。批评者则把他推上福布斯2013年10大最差亿万富翁榜单，因为他对自己的财富毫不掩饰，一场生日派对名流云集，耗资数百万美元。他还曾将美国总统奥巴马向富人增税的计划比作是纳粹进攻波兰。与大多数华尔街富豪一样，苏世民也热衷慈善事业，曾为纽约公共图书馆出资1亿美元，图书馆大楼获名苏世民楼，向耶鲁大学捐资1700万美元建造苏世民食堂。2年前，他还向中国的清华大学捐赠1亿美元，并计划筹集3亿美元，作为清华大学苏世民学者项目永久运行资金，在清华建立苏世民书院。这也是中国有史以来规模最大的外资资助的慈善项目。不久前，在出席中国发展高层论坛期间，苏世民接受了财新传媒总编辑胡舒立和财新传媒主编王硕的联合采访。
It's really very nice. As a very successful entrepreneur and business people, we also want to know the early drive for you to get success. What's that? And you are one of the richest men in the United States. Do you like the label, like the billionaire or a super rich private equity titan like that?
I guess there's a complex answer. It's not just about getting rich, really, it's about being successful. And what makes you be that way? You're always trying to win something. What happens is the more you do successful things, the more you enjoy it. And so it ends up being really, it's not about money, it's about creating unique solutions to things. And if you can do that, and it's something that society wants, whether it's Nike sneakers when they were invented, whether it's Apple computers or iPads and iPhones, or it's something unique in the financial area that we've been doing. It's about doing new things, inventing things, innovating things, and that drive is really fundamental.
I think that's why Warren Buffett said, I dance all the way to my work every day.
Well, I have a great time. And in fact, the longer I've done this, sort of the better you get at it. The problem is you get older, it's not so good. In finance, you can keep learning because the world's so dynamic. It looks like it may be from the outside, but interestingly, I think the people that have done extremely well financially, if you ask them, and they do surveys of this in the United States, may be different in China, is that most people still feel like the middle class people they were when they started on the journey. I agree with this. Emotionally, I don't feel any different than when I was having friends in high school. I still have friends from high school. The people around you may look at you differently, but you don't look at yourself any differently. And if you do, you're not an authentic person, and it'll probably compromise your success.
We are very curious, like what is the basic driven for you for your personal ambitions from childhood? What is the main drive? Was that from your father's, or some your personal ideas like that?
Well, part of these things are the way you're raised, and my grandfather always did a lot of charity work. I was used to seeing that, and now for me it's very interesting because my career's done quite well, and we went public, and I own a lot of stock, and so I've got an odd situation where as we keep doing better and better, I keep increasing the assets I have, and they exceed my own personal need for assets, and so you actually don't have a lot of options for them. You can give those to your children, and there are limits to what every person thinks is appropriate, and so that gives you the freedom to give away large amounts of money to help other people. And there are a lot of different ways to do charitable activities. You can give money to existing things, or you can create new things. And as a person, I like creating new things. And so we always like to look for things which are interesting, sometimes new, impact people's lives, and it's extremely rewarding to do those types of things.
在中国，苏世民最大的投资不是商业，而是教育。2013年4月21日，由苏世民与时任清华大学校长陈吉宁共同发起的苏世民学者项目正式启动。该项目秉承立足中国、面向世界的原则，在全球范围内选拔优秀的大学毕业生到清华进行为期1年的研究生学习，使其更直观地了解中国社会，理解中国文化，努力为崛起中的中国与变化中的世界做出重要贡献。
We are still interested about your personal story, especially the story about Tsinghua. How did you start that idea?
Well, the whole thing really started because Tsinghua was having its 100th anniversary in 2011, and they had asked me to do some kind of student exchange that they could announce for their 100th anniversary. And I was busy working on the financial crisis, which absorbed more of my time than I had planned. And so I didn't meet any deadline. And the then president, Chen Jining, flew to meet me in Paris, where I was for 6 months, and basically said, look, it would be really great if you could do something. And it doesn't have to be for 100th anniversary of Tsinghua. As I thought about what could you do, I said, okay, why don't we take the Rhodes program as a model, which attracts some of the most accomplished postgraduates, and instead of sending them to Oxford in England the way the Rhodes program does, bring them to China and give them a completely unique experience. And so for these students, and they'll be 20% Chinese, 45% from the US, and 35% from the rest of the world. We're building a special building. It's going to be called Schwarzman College, and they'll live there and take some of their classes there, and there'll be a library and dining rooms, and in addition to some classrooms. They'll live in an environment where there are 8 single rooms around a central living room. So there'll always be 1 or 2 Chinese students as part of that, so they'll be living together. That when people understand each other, and when they get to see China, not just as a student, this will be different than just being a student, that they'll be able to go back to their countries afterwards and interpret what China is doing. And sometimes the Chinese aren't perfect. They'll be doing some things that'll get people angry. And perhaps this group will be able to talk to their Chinese friends and say, what are you doing? Or they can talk to people in their own country, because we're trying to attract influencers, people who will influence the dialogue, whether they're politicians, business people, journalists, academics, and sometimes they can tell people in their own society, well, the Chinese didn't mean that. You're misreading what you're seeing. Don't respond to that. And you would be amazed the impact that things like that actually have. So that's why I'm doing the program.
2008年，一场由次贷危机所引发的金融风暴，自美国华尔街发端，迅速横扫全球。从金融界到实体经济，各国的经济形势都面临着严峻的挑战。黑石集团所从事的私募股权产业也步入了有史以来最为艰难的时刻。2008年，全球私募股权投资交易量降至1887亿美元，比2007年锐减72%。在那段金融界人人自危的时期，黑石采取了怎样的措施来渡过难关？作为企业核心人物的苏世民，又从此次危机中获得了什么样的经验
Since we met first time, it was during the financial crisis. So I do want to know what kind of lessons and experience you have learned through that crisis.
Well, the financial crisis was really an intellectually fascinating thing, because first you had to figure out what was going on, and then you had to figure out how to fix it. So it wasn't about our firm. So I wasn't concerned at all about Blackstone. What I was concerned about was the world. Because if the world completely collapsed, then that's a mess for everybody. If the world was going to recover, we were going to do extremely well. And so what I spent time doing during the crisis was trying to help my friends in the US government and other places in the world figure out what to do. It was very interesting. And there were a lot of great suggestions that people came up with. And it was about the most pressure-filled time in my life, because it wasn't about a deal. It was about a deal that was part of saving the world. And that's like really a remarkable situation that we all found ourselves in. And as a result, we now are the largest manager in the world of what's called alternative assets, private equity and certain types of real estate and hedge funds and leveraged, lesser rated credit. So our businesses are expanding over 20% a year, and it's been a very good time for us. So it would have been a little hard to imagine when the financial crisis started, but once the world was stabilized, which didn't take very long, by the way, those problems were pretty much solved.
You emphasize that for your firm's success, long-term view is critical. And so I have this question for you. In the next decade, what are the most promising investment area for you?
Well, sometimes what I've learned in the investment business is you don't find these opportunities by studying. They just happen. And you have to understand something that's just happened in terms of how profound the opportunity is. So for example, the collapse of energy prices, oil prices are down approximately 50%, actually a little more from the top. Oil got to 120 and Brent's now 53. So that's like a 60%, actually 65% decline from the top. So there are going to be a lot of things that happen as a result of that. And so over, I can't say for a whole decade, but I know for the next few years, this is going to be an area of enormous opportunity. And then, like most commodities, supply and demand will get into line. And when that happens, energy prices will go up. You just never know where the bottom is, and you don't know how long it'll stay there. But because it's pretty dynamic, and there are a lot of things that can happen in the world that change that supply and demand equation, that I think the energy space is going to be one of those dramatic moves.
How about the internet?
The internet, for sure. There's so many different ways
But you haven't invested to.
Yeah, we don't really have an early stage business, and part of it is I'm not very good with technology, and I hired most of the senior people at the firm, so I guess I hired people who were basically somewhat like me, so nobody's that good at that. The technology business is done in America, which is the leading source of venture investing and technological innovation, is very much of an insider's game. And I'm a great believer in only doing things where you have people who are tens on a scale of 10 running those businesses, where you can create a critical mass and offer something unique. Just doing something that everybody else does because they're making money. They may have some special sauce that's making them make money, and you may show up and just get leftovers. So there's, in finance, usually being the last person in gets you a bad outcome, right? So that's why we, are not as active there. But the whole technology area where we do play it is going to be a decade-long opportunity. There will be booms and busts, right? It always happens.
But what you think is the most interesting area in China?
Well, China is going through a dramatic change. It will probably depress China's growth rate somewhat as you make that transition. But that transition is more of a mature economy. It will take years to do, and it will create opportunities. I mean, we bought a company called Pactera, which is an information technology. I guess we do technology. IT outsourcing, BTO type business, where it does testing of software products, and that company's growing very rapidly. And we purposely looked for a company like that would take advantage of that. We're buying warehouses in China. Why would we buy warehouses in China? Because the whole internet phenomena in China is creating the needs for huge logistics systems as internet shopping has grown very substantially. So we're putting money following that trend. So there are always interesting things to do all over the world, and there are interesting things to do in China.
中国经济稳步前进的当下，越来越多的本地企业开始走出国门，放眼世界。一方面是受企业自身发展趋势，进一步在海外市场布局，提高国际知名度；另一方面，则受中国政府鼓励到海外学习先进的开发技术和管理策略。对此，苏世民表示，欢迎更多的中国企业进行海外投资，同时也建议这些企业在充分了解当地市场特点的情况下，有效地开展业务。
Today, there are huge amount of money in China waiting to be invested in the global markets. So, how would this bring new factors into your industry, and what would be your suggestions to advices to Chinese businessmen who want to go abroad?
Well, those are in a way two different questions.
Yes.
That in terms of money available in China, there's always been a lot of money in China, and that liberalization is starting to happen. And we're getting very substantial flows from Chinese institutions that are permitted to give money to foreigners. Some are like CIC, which was set up to do that, but there are other institutions, but still relatively few. And so we look forward to continue liberalization of China and more monies coming to us for investment. As to Chinese business people going abroad, whenever you invest or buy something outside your own country, you're raising your risk very high, because most of us, and there are almost no exceptions to this, are not nearly as good going somewhere else as where we know the rules, we speak the language, we can assess people, and when you go to a foreign culture, you know almost none of those things. So you're already in big trouble. So you have to approach this almost as if you know nothing. And how would you protect yourself? So you protect yourself by getting involved with people who can give you advice, who live in those other cultures. They know good people from bad people. You probably can do that where you live. But if you're a stranger, you won't know. And it's the same everywhere. So you need guides. You need not just experts, but you need people who also understand you and what you're comfortable with. And they're always professional helpers, like lawyers and other types of accountants